the Irish people decided today. Well, if you believe in democracy, the Irish people decided today or yesterday that they would remove an amendment to the Irish Constitution that prohibited abortion in most circumstances. Now, I looked at some exit polling that asked people 4 reasons why they voted the way they did. And one of the options was for religious reasons, that religious reasons were the primary contributing factor to the way someone voted in this referendum to take away the restrictions on abortion. And only 12% of the people, I think, in this exit poll said that religion was the deciding factor. So for Catholics, in most places, abortion is a very important issue. And for this referendum to pass to remove these restrictions on abortion, and for only 12% of the people in this exit poll to say religion played a role, it seems to me like Catholicism in Ireland is pretty much dead, or if it's not dead, it's been denuded of anything worthwhile, important. I'm not really seeing it here. I don't know a whole lot about Ireland, but I do know that it had pretty serious sexual abuse scandals, and that there are a lot of people in the Republic of Ireland who are fairly strongly opposed now to Catholicism and the Church because they see it as an organization that is, inflicted suffering on people who didn't deserve to suffer, and on children no less, and they don't see it as working for the Irish people anymore. The Catholic Church has taken a lot of hits in the 20th and 21st century, particularly those abuse scandals, which have been covered in the press to a degree that you do not see abuse scandals covered in other religious denominations, other faiths. It is my personal belief that if you look at the timeline of some of the abuse, at least the abuse that has been recorded, it began in the late 50s, I think. The really bad abuse, it started to pick up in the 1960s, and it peaked in the 1970s, and then by the 1990s it had gone back to the 1950s levels. To me, this kind of says that the abuse in the Catholic Church was a product of Vatican II and the forces that led to Vatican II. If you look at it from the standpoint of a traditional Catholic, the Vatican II stuff is just insane. It doesn't make sense with any previous Catholic teaching. They basically recreate the religion to the point where I see the post-Vatican II church as being like a different organization with a different theology. And then you're going to tell me that it just so happens that there also is this gigantic upswing in child sexual abuse at the same time that you're dispensing with traditional Catholic theology and bring this globalist, ecumenist, relativist stuff in. I don't think so. I think that has to be related. So who suffers? The church itself suffers because the people who were injured by these priests in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and other times too, but mostly during that time period, they don't have a church to rely on anymore because those two things have moved so far away from each other. Now, the practical effect with relation to this issue is that the Irish no longer have a religious prohibition, apparently, against gay marriage or abortion. It wasn't just the church. A lot of big organizations went into Ireland and spent billions of dollars on philanthropic projects, like the what is it called? The Atlantic Philanthropies, the Atlantic Philanthropies, the Ford Foundation, The Open Societies people, the George Soros people, they come in and they spend a lot of money on helpful projects like education or helping children and old people, just this kind of basic stuff. But then while they're there, they also fund homosexual rights organizations, queer organizations, abortion, all of these kind of things, with, I think, the implicit understanding that if you don't go the way we want you to on these social issues, you're going to lose these tens, dozens, or even $100 million of this other money that we're spending. So that's why when you look at the list of the political parties that supported the repeal of the Eighth Amendment to the Irish Constitution, you will only see the left parties like Labour, Communism, the Greens. These kind of people are the ones who openly support the repeal. However, when you look at the vote in the legislative body that it took to get the repeal going, you'll see that the so-called center parties or center-right parties, the Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gael, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think that's right, they voted to put this referendum up too, even though the polling showed that it would probably pass and that it would be that the Eighth Amendment would be removed, and therefore there would be more access to abortion. So if the center-right parties actually did not favor abortion, they would not have voted to put the referendum in place, you see. So it seems like a case of these large foundations, which again, this is the limb of the oligarchy, the limb of the international globalist groups. And the philanthropic foundations are just some soft power. You've got NATO on one side who will come and blow you up if they possibly can, and you do what they don't like, and dominate you and do a peacekeeping mission or whatever. Or on the other hand, the foundations will come in, buy off your elite class, buy off your politicians, make it really difficult for you to say no, and convince them to do these other things. So why did Ireland need gay marriage, and why did Ireland need abortion? Well, it just so happens there's this other plan in place around about the same time, I think, that by 2040 wants to have an additional 1 or 1.5 million people in Ireland who are brown or black. So at the most, Ireland will be 75% Irish, and then it'll be 25% of people from non-European countries. This is basically the pattern that you've seen in the rest of the Anglosphere, the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK, and it's being extended to this other country, which up until now had basically been an ethno-state. Ireland doesn't need any more people. Ireland doesn't need non-Irish people, but a certain international group, certain international oligarchic elite have decided that white ethno-states are bad and that anything that even somewhat resembles a white ethno-state must be destroyed. So Ireland has to be turned into something like the United States or Australia or Canada or one of these other countries, in which the native white population is reduced through gay marriage, through abortion, and through being swamped with immigrants from non-compatible countries. So it is for all of these reasons that I would oppose liberalization of abortion laws, even if I agreed with limited access to abortion for cases such as rape, incest, the health of the mother, and a non-viable pregnancy, a fetus, a baby that wasn't going to make it. So even if I agreed with those things, I would have to fight on the side of the pro-life or the anti-abortion people, simply because the people who promote this stuff are not operating in good faith. These are soft measures to try to destroy a native population because that native population is in some ways a threat to the domination by these globalist groups. Thank you for your time.